Hi, welcome to Wednesday. Today I'm going to do a case that I've done before, and this is going to be oral surgeon / dentist office. And I've said it before, I do a lot of work for a lot of dentists. Think about this. An earthbound spirit does not eat or sleep. They need human energy to keep going. And I'm sorry, I have a lot of friends that are dentists, but people are scared to death to go to the dentist. And so they're sitting in the waiting room and they hear a drill go off in the back. They grip the chair. Ghosts are all over dentist offices. There are other lines of work that have a tendency to bring stuff home too, and that is, of course, antique dealers, people that work in malls, people that work in restaurants, especially if it's like a biker bar or, a pool hall, that type of thing. Those places are all crowded too. But the dentist offices, they're almost at the top. Years ago, I had done a talk at a library. And libraries, that's what I used to do. 25 years ago. And it was crazy because depending on where the library was located, somebody would call up and say, no, your topic is not appropriate for our area, and they'd cancel me. So it was nice to go to a library that was, open to it. So I went to this library, and a gal came up to me after, and she said, my mom works at a dentist's office. She said, and when she comes home, she said, she is so tired. She's acts and talks so crazy when she comes home. This only happens on days that she works. And I says, what kind of an office? She says she works for a dentist. She says, well, there's two dentists. One's a regular dentist and one is an oral surgeon. And they have the office together. And I said, gosh, about the only way that I would know if something is going on there would be a call from there. I says, but just so you know, dentist offices are really, really, there's usually a lot of ghosts there. And it was probably 3 weeks later, I got a call, and this woman's name was Maggie. And she said, my daughter came to hear you talk at the library. And I said, yes. And she says, I'm the lady that works in a dentist's office. And I said, gotcha. I said, okay. And I said, let me ask you a couple questions. I said, you are obviously not calling me from work now. She says, I am not. And I could see into a regular house. But I could see in that house, because there was a ghost in the house, that had followed her home from the dentist's office. So I explained to her how the ghost needs energy and how people are afraid. I says, where do you think your bosses are in regards to whether they believe this or not? She says, wow, I have no clue. She said, but if things don't change, she said, I am leaving. She says, there's 6 women that work there. And she said, most of us are office staff. She says, and then there are the ones that assist the dentists. And she said, so there's like 20 people that work in this office. A lot of people. In back rooms were bookkeepers and that type of thing. She said, and she says, phones don't work. The doctors will buzz us from their rooms. We never get it. She said, and it's gotten to the point where us 6 women in the front are literally ready just to murder one another. I said, yeah, sounds like you got a real problem there. She said, the oral surgeon accidentally did something to a patient, and the wife was left in a pretty bad state, And the husband came in and had it out with the doctor right in the hallway. I mean, punched him in the face. I said, oh, great. I said, okay. And I says, I'm curious. I said, how long ago did that happen? She said, gosh, 6 months ago. And I said, okay. I says, and how has it been the last 6 months? She said, some days are absolutely horrendous. She says, the other days are just bad. She says, but then some of them get really, really bad. So I said, I need you to call me from there, but I says, don't even bother to call if you don't have one of the dentists has to approve it. She said, okay. Well, it was 3 weeks later again, and I got a call from Maggie, and she said, I am in the office. And I said, and the dentist said it's okay, or the oral surgeon? She said, actually, they both did. I said, really? I says, I'm surprised. She said, well, after what happened today, she says, I think they're ready to try anything. I said, why? What happened today? She said, there was a tooth extraction, and the assistant was in there with the doctor. She had the patient chart in front of her, and it's a good thing the assistant knew the woman that was in the chair getting the tooth extracted. She says, because she's glancing down at her file, her record, and the dentist was just ready to put an antibiotic on her where the tooth came out at, and here she was highly allergic to that. And the dentist, she says, and I told the dentist, she says, hold on a minute. His assistant says, hold on. She says, I don't think she can have that antibiotic. And he looked over at her chart, and he said, it doesn't say that in here. She says, yeah, but I just remember. She says, hang on. So she ran to the front, and they had a Commodore 64 computer. So I don't know when those came out, but it was a long time ago. And she said, pull up Jane Doe's file. And they did. And here it was on the file that antibiotic she was definitely allergic to. But they were looking then on her file. It looked like it had been erased. And here it turns out that these ghosts had a lot of energy in that place. There were 4 of them. The one just made the women crazy with one another, nitpicking, complaining, turning each other in, tattling on one another. I mean, it was horrible. It was worse than an all-girls dorm on a college campus. That's how bad they were fighting. And then the 2 doctors started nitpicking at one another. And it turned out that between the equipment, I forget what it's called, that they sterilized the instruments in, that was always broken. Or when they came in the morning, the instruments were out of the cleaning piece of, I don't know what that's called.
Autoclave.
An autoclave, thanks, Ted. The instruments were out of the autoclave, all jumbled up, and none of them did it. The woman swears she put it in, and it didn't take. This is the stuff that was going on. Well, it turns out that when that husband came in to confront the doctor about his wife, and he punched him out in the hallway, he was so angry that blew open a portal. So on top of everything else, now you've got a really snarky, bad-tempered ghost coming out of the portal probably 2 or 3 days a week, even causing more problems. And that's when the x-ray machine went down. That's when they had trouble with the central air. That quit working. It was like one thing after another. And let's be honest, if somebody's looking for a new dentist, you go see a dentist, you have your first exam with the dentist, and you might love him. He was gentle, the teeth looked great, the cleaning was wonderful. But you know what? If you don't feel good about it, you're not going to go back. And that was another one of the problems. The oral surgeon wasn't too bad because he got a lot of referrals from other surgeons. But ones that were just coming in, no. And then they were planning on bringing somebody in that was an expert just on to work with kids with braces and like a kids department. And the one doctor had gone to college with this doctor, and they always joked about getting together. Well, the new doctor lived in San Francisco, and he was coming back to this area. So he reached out and said, do you want to start this? So the two doctors that had the practice got together, and they said, yeah, there's a market for it. Parents are getting their kids' teeth done now. Even adults are going into braces. And again, this was all before this invisible thing that you can just pop in your mouth yourself now. This is when people had to go to the dentist to get their braces and get them adjusted and put the little rubber bands on and everything that you have to do for it. And the guy came in and talked to both of them, liked the practice, liked where he was going to be able to get set up at. And he said, let me try it for a couple weeks. Let's see how it goes. This dentist was miserable. He really thought the other two dentists were picking on him. He'd come in the morning, his papers would be ruffled and shuffled around, and he never had any messages on his desk, but the secretaries kept saying, well, we left messages for you. It was really, really annoying. And he talked to the two of them. He said, your staff, he said, unless I bring my own secretary in to take care of my needs, he said, this is not going to work, which the two dentists couldn't understand because it's been working fine for them. But the ghost did not want or like this man, and they didn't want him to come in. And it was just enough of a problem. Plus, one of the ghosts told me when I was there that there was one, and he said who she was, that one of the people that took the staff, she didn't especially care for senior citizens, and she thought they were too demanding and too needy. And so if any senior citizen called needing any kind of dental work, she would give them an appointment so far out that they wouldn't even take it. And so she was stopping business that way. And so it was like one thing after another with this dental office. And so went there. Normally when I do a business, I go on a day off, or when the office is closed, or the store is closed, or whatever the venue is. And the dentist obviously could have been there, but because of the staff, anybody that worked there was allowed to be there. So it was almost like a ghost chat. And went through the whole thing, explained everything, and then the ghost started talking. Then the ghost said, well, tell him, remember 3 weeks ago when he was working on, and he said the patient's name, that the tray fell over and all the tools went all over the floor, all your instruments. And the dentist looked at his assistant. He said, yeah, I know exactly how that happened. And his assistant said, I wasn't standing anywhere near that. The ghost started laughing. He said, nope, that was me. I did that. And then he mentioned something about the oral surgeon. He said, you remember when the gas machine or whatever they used to knock the person out, when it got all out of control and he was getting more than he was supposed to. And the oral surgeon said, yeah, I remember. He says, I thought we were going to kill the guy. And he said, and he looked at his assistant, and that assistant never said a word, but was just shaking their head. No, it wasn't me. And the ghost that was in that room said, no, that was me, along with breaking. He said, I also made sure that the light, the overhead big light, that as soon as you started, that bulb went out. And you had to take time then to find the bulb to put back in there. So this is the kind, if it's one little thing, it's in everything that happens in a business or a house is not going to be because of a ghost. Things happen. But when it's this bad and this much stuff happens, it's just not really good. So close the portal, got rid of all the ghosts, seeded the place up. The quinceañeras were up everywhere. And I've seen these people. Usually they show up at events now. They've been showing up for years. The practice has never done better. They opened it up. 3 more dentists are in this place now. So it's a huge, they've opened up 4 other places. So that would never have ever happened if they hadn't cleared it out. So if you're somebody in that line of work that is having a lot of problems at work, that could absolutely be what one of your problems are. Okay, what I want to tell you is that the next Zoom is on Friday, March 12th at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, which means you have to adjust to your time zone. And I can tell from Zoom if you've got something in your house, if you've got negative energy in your house, and it's a lot faster than waiting for me to call you back because that list is just getting longer and longer. And I will be, for those of you who are local, I will be at the Goddess Elite on Sunday, March 14th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. The books will be there. Everything, the charms, everything will be there. And, bring pictures in. Let me look at photos, see what I can see. Oh, back to the Zoom. The only way I do Zooms is this group Zoom of 30 people. I do not do individual Zooms for those of you that are asking about that. I don't have this equipment to do that. Melissa from the Goddess Elite does, so I don't do that. And if things are opening up the way I think they're going to, on April 10th, I'll be at Antlers in Lorain County. It's a ghost walk. It's a talk and a walk, and this place is full of spirits. So if you're around or want to make a trip into the Cleveland area, check it out on the Goddess Elite's event site or my website. It will be on there. Okay, next week we will do another case. I just have to go through my file and see which one. Have a great week. Be safe.